3,000 years ago, a man has been looking at a rock up close. He sees a small glint of something shiny, and he likes what he sees, but he wonders how he can get this shine out of the rock. His mind wanders as he sits by his campfire, and eventually he falls asleep. In his slumber, he drops the stone into the roaring fire. By morning, when he wakes up, he starts to look for the rock, but he cannot find it, and he moves to add more wood onto the fire. Just as he's about to stow the fire, he sees glinting fragments of iron have removed themselves from the rock. Unknowingly, he has just invented smelting iron. Just like his ancestors had developed fire from rubbing two sticks together, this new technology would change his world. Hello and welcome to the channel. I am That One History G, and this is part number 3 of 4 parts of the Sand People. We are going to discuss in this episode the development of hunter-gatherers to the pastoral Koikoi, as they move from Stone Age to the Bronze Age to the Iron Age and all the way up to today's technology age. If you haven't watched part number 1 and 2 yet, please go and watch those first. The link is in the description down below, and while you're there you can also like, comment, and most importantly, please subscribe. Now, let's get into this. The San had developed as time progressed, and they had now been known as the Koikoi, who were pastorals, and they emerged in the present north and northern eastern Botswana region around 2,000 to 3,000 years ago, acquiring livestock from the Bantu-speaking mixed farmers who lived in that area. As the descendants of the San people, the hunter-gatherers, it is expected that the Koikoi and the San lifestyle would be quite similar. Their language is very similar. The cliques came with them. However, the Koikoi introduced livestock into southern Africa for the first time. Pastoralism became the main economic activity, and it is represented as a major transformation in the history of southern Africa, and it's sometimes called the Pastoral Revolution. And over the generations, they moved south to the Cape region in search for water and grazing lands for their livestock. The Koikoi economy had much in common with that of their San ancestors in that they also practiced hunting and gathering. However, their lifestyle focused primarily on pastoralism, livestock herding. Koikoi initially herded mainly sheep and then also a little bit of goats, but cattle became their most important objects. The Koikoi used thin-walled pottery, probably storing and transporting milk, although we don't know where this pottery actually came from. Livestock was regarded as a symbol of material wealth in the Koikoi society and would therefore be accumulated, nurtured, and even protected. This influenced the way that the Koikoi set out their settlements, with a central livestock enclosure in the middle of the settlement, keeping all the livestock safe at night. Having no wealth to protect, the San simply lived in caves or temporary shelters made out of branches. It's also not surprising that the Koikoi would eventually go and raid each other to gain more wealth. In view of their material value, livestock was only slaughtered on special occasions, ceremonial reasons, and was never a regular supply of meat. This is where hunting and gathering came into a crucial role for the Koikoi, as they needed meat to live, so they would hunt and gather their food. Because of these materialistic ideas, we have seen how the ownership of livestock conveyed wealth on individuals in the Koikoi society. This in turn led to a superior social status and the emergence of wealthier and poorer people. This means that the Koikoi society became hierarchical, and the emergence of a chief and a royal family, unlike the San people, who were in general equal status. What's really interesting is that some groups actually rejected the Koikoi lifestyle. They didn't like it. They didn't like the hierarchical aspect of it, and they continued on with their hunter-gatherer lifestyle as they enjoyed equal status for all members. So therefore the Koikoi and the San lived in harmony at the same time. But there was some issues, because the Koikoi often looked down on the San, and then the San would see all animals as part of nature. So they would actually go and hunt the livestock, literally hunting the Koikoi's wealth. And this, of course, was not ever going to end well. The Koikoi had much bigger groups and they would go to war with the San, which meant that the San had to run away. They had to go and flee to different parts of the country. The Koikoi community was generally much larger than that of the San, as livestock ownership supported much larger concentrations of people. Hunter-gatherer clans, the San, usually numbered fewer than 50, sometimes even one family. Koikoi communities, on the other hand, were frequently numbered to 500 people. However, these larger groups were not permanent because, similar to the San, flexibility was necessary for survival. Periods of environmental stress required the Koikoi clans to split apart, disperse over different areas, and on the other hand, new leaders would also build up their livestock, attracting different people from different clans to make sure that they could create their own new clans because people wanted to be a chief. Livestock was the main part of the Koikoi economy, but it also played a crucial role in the administration justice system, such as demanding the offenders to pay fines in livestock to the chief or communities. All of this was absent in the San community, who didn't own any wealth in the form of livestock. But what is really interesting is the development of the mining, which would see the Koikoi starting to be able to gain a better understanding of what they can do with iron and keep a hold of their livestock better, making iron fences, etc. And it increased their tools, which changed their entire economy. Because of these numerous differences between the societies of the San and the Koikoi, they developed different ideas for gender roles. In the San, everyone was equal, man or woman, they didn't care. In Koikoi society, however, women didn't have the same access to social statuses of men. They were allowed to inherit livestock, which was great, but men and women didn't share the equal access to the livestock. As a result, men regularly were more powerful than that of women. A Koikoi woman could take the title of chief, which is great, but they could only take the title of chief if there were no male heirs, and this didn't happen often. In general, women were excluded from formal society, which was dominated by men, despite of all the contributions that women had to their economy, such as gathering, milking, producing mat houses and other utensils, taking care of the family unit. They were also not admitted to the Council of Elders, which set out the rules, laws, and regulation of the tribe. There were also rules preventing women from drinking cow's milk, which was declared a male privilege. In addition to their inferior status, women were also neglected in the Koikoi society. Unmarried or widowed women would be told to set up their camp in a place that was allocated for servants. However, women weren't treated completely with disrespect. They had the right to own livestock, they had to play important roles not only in the daily affairs but in the households of each Koikoi person, and they took part in the various ceremonial rites. They also had the lone power to tell their husbands when they could and could not eat. The title of chief was one that you would inherit from one's family, and you were able to strengthen your claim to the throne and win followers through employment of clients who, in return for their labor and their loyalty, were awarded milk, and usually after long service, sometimes they would get the offspring of the livestock as well. In this way, poor Koikoi, who had lost their livestock, could rebuild their wealth. Now, are the Koikoi and the San still around? You bet they are. But they were almost lost to time with the introduction of the Portuguese, the Dutch, and eventually the English in the Cape of the Good Hope. Find out how they survived in part number 4, the last part of the San people's story. I really do hope that you enjoyed that. Let me know what you want to watch in the future. Like, comment, and subscribe. The more you know.